The Quran is said to be the eternal speech of Allah, but whenever one does a critical examination of the Quran, they will see that not much of the Quran is original to itself. And I want to show you one such instance. Surah chapter 21 verse 51 says, "And indeed we have granted Abraham sound judgment early on, for we know him well to be worthy of it. Remember when he questioned his father and his people, what are these statues to which you are so devoted?" They replied, "We found our forefathers worshiping them." He responded, "Indeed, you and your forefathers have been clearly astray." They asked, "Have you come to us with the truth, or is this a joke?" He replied, "In fact, your Lord is the Lord of heavens and earth, who created them both, and to that I bear witness." Then he said to himself, "By Allah, I will surely plot against your idols after you have turned your backs and gone away." So he smashed them into pieces, except the biggest of them, so they might turn to it for answers. They protested, "Who dared to do this to our gods? It must be an evildoer." Some said, "We have heard a young man called Abraham speaking ill of them." They demanded, "Bring him before the eyes of the people so that they may witness his trial." They asked, "Was it you who did this to our gods, O Abraham?" He replied sarcastically, "No, this one, the biggest of them, did it." So ask them if they can talk. So they came back to their senses, saying to one another, "You yourselves are truly the wrongdoers." Then they quickly regressed to their original mindset, arguing, "You already know that those idols cannot talk." He rebukes them, "Do you then worship instead of Allah what can neither benefit nor harm you in any way? Shame on you and whatever you worship instead of Allah. Do you not have any sense?" They conclude, "Burn him up to avenge your gods, if you must act. We ordered, O fire, be cool and safe for Abraham. They had sought to harm him, but we made them the worst losers. Then we delivered him along with Lot to the land we had showered with blessings for all people." So this is the story of Abraham, of course, crushing the idols and then being taken to trial for it and then being saved by Allah from being burned alive. But this is interesting because we find a parallel in the Jewish Midrash. This is the Jewish Midrash Bereshit Rabbah 38:13, and this is composed around 400 CE. It says, Haran died during the life of Terah, his father. Rabbi Hanvi, grandson of Adiv Yodif. Terah was an idol worshiper and a seller of idols. One time he went away to some place and he installed Abraham as a salesman in his stead. A person would come seeking to buy. He would say to him, "How old are you?" He would say to him, 50 or 60 years old. He would say to him, "Woe to this man who is 60 years old and seeks to prostrate himself before something that is one day old." He would be ashamed and leave. One time a certain woman came carrying a dish of fine flour in her hand. She said to him, "Here, offer it before them." He rose up and took a club in his hand and shattered all the idols and placed the club in the hand of the largest among them. When his father came and said to him, "Who did this to them?" he said to him, "I will not lie to you. A certain woman came carrying a dish of fine flour in her hand. She said to me, 'Here, offer it before them.' I offered it before them. This one idol said, 'I shall eat first,' and another one said, 'I shall eat first.' The big idol, who was standing among them, got up and took the club and shattered them. He said to him, 'What are you mocking me? Are they sinning it at all?' He said to him, 'Do your ears not hear what your mouth is saying?'" So here he's basically calling Abraham a liar here. It says that he took him and handed him over to Nimrod. He said to Abraham, "Let us bow down to fire." Abraham said to him, "Let us better bow down to water that extinguishes the fire." Nimrod said to him, "Let us bow down to water." He said to him, If so, let us bow down to the clouds that bear the water. He said to him, let us bow down to the clouds. He said to him, if so, let us bow down to the wind that scatters the clouds. He said to him, let us bow down to the wind. He said to him, better let us bow down to a person who can withstand the wind. He said to him, you are saying mere words. I bow down only to fire. I will cast you into it, and let that God to whom you bow down come and rescue you from it. Aaron was there, and he was conflicted. He said, either way, I will know what to do. If Abraham is victorious, I will say, I am with Abraham, and if Nimrod is victorious, I will say, I am with Nimrod. When Abraham descended into the fiery furnace and was rescued, they said to him, with whom are you? He said to them, I am with Abraham. They took him and cast him into the fire, and his innards were scorched. He emerged and died in the presence of Terah, his father. That is what is written. Haran died in the presence of Terah. So this is not meant to be scripture from a Jewish perspective. It's an interpretation upon a story. But here we can see that Muhammad did not know that. He took this to be scripture. We know this to be the case if we compare these stories together. We can see in the first one it says that Abraham's father accused him of being an idol worshiper, and this is paralleled in Surah chapter 21 verse 52, where it says, remember when he was questioning his father and his people, what are these statues to which you are devoted? So basically what I have here, I have the Midrash, and then I have the equivalent of what the Quran says. So it says, the second one is that he went away somewhere and left Abraham. And this is, of course, a parallel in Surah chapter 21, verse 57, when it says, then he said to himself, by Allah, I will surely plot against your idols after you have turned your backs and gone away. The third parallel, Abraham breaks all the idols except the largest one. So he took a stick and broke them and put the stick in the hand of the largest. This is also found in Surah chapter 21, verse 58. It says, so he smashed them into pieces except the biggest of them so that he might turn to it for answers. The fourth parallel is when his father returned, he said to him, what have you done to them? Surah chapter 21, verse 59 says, they protested, who dared to do this to our gods? It must be an evildoer. The fifth parallel is that the one idol said, I shall eat first, and the other one said, I shall eat first. The big idol, who was standing among them, got up and took the club and shattered them. And Surah chapter 21, verse 63 says, he replied sarcastically, no, this one, the biggest of them, did it. So ask them if they can talk. The sixth parallel is that Abraham is seized and delivered up for judgment. And it says, Terah took him and handed him over to Nimrod. And this is found in Surah chapter 21, verse 68. It says, then they concluded, burn him up to avenge your gods, if you must act. And the last parallel is that Abraham is saved from the fire. And this can also be found in Surah chapter 21, verse 69. It says, we ordered, O fire, be cool and save for Abraham. So here we can see that Muhammad, whenever he was interacting with the Jews of his time, he did not realize that the stories they were telling him were not actually scripture, but he didn't know that yet. He took it as scripture, so he put it into the Quran, which once again shows that there is very little that is original to the Quran. So therefore we can see that the Quran is a conglomeration of a whole bunch of different texts. So therefore we should not consider the Quran to be the eternal word of Allah, because Allah is getting his stories from several different people groups within the area where Muhammad is.